Hey guys, Thrasher here. I've been gone for a long time. Dragon Ball Legends has changed a lot. There's a lot to talk about on both sides of that, so let's talk about it right now. Okay, so after taking a 2-month hiatus, a lot of people have been asking where I've been. Some people think I died. Some people thought I was in a car crash. None of that happened. I'll give you a general rundown of what's been going on in my life, and then we'll talk what's been going on in the game, as well as what I think is going to happen. We're not going to cover today's update as much. I will talk about the 2 banners that just came out, and we'll give them a slight review. But this video is already going to be reasonably long, and I don't want to make it ridiculous. So first up, let's talk about why I haven't been making videos. I had a lot of personal life changes that happened in the last few months, and with those personal life changes, there were a lot of annoyances that I had with the game, and it wasn't that I wasn't making videos because the game was bad and I didn't want to deal with the game anymore. It was the game wasn't going in the direction that I wanted it to go, and I had a million other things that I was dealing with. I was in completely separate states for long periods of time. In fact, I live in Chicago, but since Christmas, which was pretty much my last video, I've only been in Chicago for maybe 10 days. So I would have to find some way to make mobile videos, which I probably will in the future because of the things that happened. I'm going to be mobile quite a bit more. So I'm going to have to come up with a solution for that. But at the moment, I'm here for the at least next few weeks, so we'll have lots of videos coming out. You should expect videos every single day. As far as the other stuff that was going on that was forcing me to not make videos, most of that has subsided, so I don't expect that to be an issue. The only real issue is trying to figure out how I'm going to make these mobile videos. Now let's talk about the other half of that though. So I was very annoyed with the game. I felt like the Zenkai system, I understand that they were trying to make it seem like older characters were more powerful, which it was making older characters more powerful, but it was in reality making the game very, very pay to win. If you didn't have very specific characters and you didn't get them to at least 7 stars, so that way you could get the Zenkai boost that specific characters had, you pretty much just couldn't compete. So there was a very large divide between the people who paid a lot for this game and the people who paid almost nothing or are completely free to play. Now, that's pretty much always going to be the case where you don't have a fully standardized system in PvP, and obviously with the Ultimate Battle PvP system that they have going on right now, they're trying to standardize it a little bit, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But it had just gotten to a point where I felt like there was a huge divide between the free-to-play players and the pay-to-win players, and I don't feel like any game should ever be pay to win. If you give someone a small advantage because they're paying money, generally that it's a recipe for destruction, right? Because at first, if the advantage isn't huge, whatever, no one really cares, but it always gets exacerbated over time and it gets worse and worse and worse. And the Zenkai was kind of the breaking point for me, where I was like, all right, the difference between someone who is a free-to-play player and someone who has a fully stacked team is just becoming absolutely enormous. They figured that out because a lot of people fell off in PvP. They weren't really playing anymore, and as you've seen things that they've been doing in the last few weeks, they had that survey where they were asking people, what can we do to make the game better, because they lost a bunch of players. They've been hitting us with tons and tons of step-up banners, and that's another thing that we need to talk about. We'll talk about the step-up banners here in a minute when we go into those banners near the end of this video, but they've been doing stuff to try and bring players back, because it's pretty obvious that they're losing a lot of players. I haven't even really done PvP for the last 3 seasons because of the things that I've been saying. I was just kind of disgusted with the way things were going. It does look like they're moving in the opposite direction now. They understand that pay to win is a real issue. They're going to try to address it in a few different ways. I think what they're going to need to do in the long run is have a PvP area that's fully standardized. It doesn't matter who you pull, it doesn't matter how many stars, it's all going to get standardized. And then you need to have a PvE area where there are ways to make meaningful gains in non-PvP, and you have to use crystals and pull characters, so that way they're separated. Now the issue there is, are there going to be enough people that want to pay money for the crystals if it's PvE only? The other issue is, as you get these large divides, this is what you see in almost every competitive game. If there's a pay-to-win mechanic of any type whatsoever, the second you start seeing a large divide, you get massive fall-off of the player base. And the idea a lot of people will point out is, oh, well, most of these people that are massive whales, they're paying a large majority of the bills for Dimps, Bandai. That's true, but the whales will stop spending money if they have no one to whale against, right? So you're better off having a system where the whales are spending money on PvE stuff, and then they're just playing PvP, and you have a massive player base of a ton of people that are playing the game. That keeps the economy as a whole considerably more stable. So we've got all that out of the way. What are they going to do about it? I do think that the Ultimate Battle, like I said, is a step in the right direction. It's reasonably standardized. Obviously, you still have to pull a character before you can use them in PvP. That's a little bit of an issue in itself, especially since we have a lot of these characters, not as much recently, but a lot of characters in the reasonably close past that have very, very low drop rates. And some of them are essential to your team. There was a point in time where if you didn't have Super Vegito, you were just going to get smoked by anyone that did have Super Vegito. And there's lots of other characters like that. There was Purple Broly when he came out, so we don't need to name them all, but you get the idea, right? So you have to pull this specific character. A lot of the time, you have to spend a fair amount of money. We're not talking you got to spend 30, 40 bucks. We're talking sometimes it could be hundreds of dollars. So you're going to have to spend multiple full-priced games to get one character so that way you can be reasonably competitive in PvP for a couple weeks. It's going to cause issues in the long run, and that's why you see a lot of this player attrition and why you see these surveys and all of these added login bonuses, celebrations, whatever you want to call them, that you're seeing from Legends, because the revenue is starting to fall off fairly quickly for them. Hopefully they fix that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about the banners themselves. So we'll do a real quick banner review of the two new banners that came out today, or the two important banners. Obviously there's a few variations to it, but we're going to go to menu and then go to summon, and let's talk about, so this is obviously the combination of the two banners where you can get tickets. The tickets come from doing these summons right here, as well as missions. Now, as we've seen in the last few weeks, I have been playing the game while I haven't been making these videos, but I've kind of been in maintenance mode. I haven't been following it as closely as I do while I'm actually creating content, but I have been noticing one big thing. They know that the majority of their money is coming from the step-up banners. That's why they've really ramped it up with step-up banners, because they're not making as much money as they used to, and they're like, oh, we need to make more and more step-up banners because that's the only time people spend. The reason that people spend on step-up banners is because it's a better deal than a standard banner. If every banner becomes a step-up banner, then people won't spend on step-up banners anymore, because that's just your standard, what you're going to pay for these things. Now, with that being said, I don't think we're at that point, but these step-up banners are definitely not amazing, especially when you look at older step-up banners from a year ago, a year and a half ago. But they do have multiple good characters on them, so let's talk about these real quick. I'm not actually going to split these out because the case is pretty much the same for both of these. These both have multiple characters that are new. I think on both of them there's at least 2 characters that are top tier, and then the Shigesh on this one is an absolute monster, the Extreme Shigesh. So I'm not going to jump into the huge breakdown here. What I will say is it's worth it to do the first cycle of both of these. So steps 1 through 3. I wouldn't do 4 through 7. They're not worth it. It's pretty much full price, and all it's doing is giving you a ticket that you can use up here, and you need 5 tickets to pull 1 unit. Probably not worth it. So what I would say is spend the 1100, get your 18 units for 1100. That's going to give you 4 extra tickets, which you can use up here once you get a 5th ticket, which you'll get from your quest. So it's really more like 18.5 pulls for 1,000 crystals. Pretty good deal. Still not as high quality of a deal as the daily discount summon, but again, you can only do the daily discount once a day. That's what I'm going to rate this as. I guess it's a borderline 2 to 3 star Dragon Ball banner. Spend your 1100 crystals on each of these, and hopefully you get the new characters. I think down here, out of these guys, I actually like the Piccolo the most. So there's 3 Sparklings here. There's the new Goku, the new Raditz, and the new Piccolo. Quality units, I have heard that the Goku is kind of flimsy. So that's something to think about. And then there's 2 new quality sparkling units here. So again, you've got at least 2 new units here. You've got 3 new ones below, and this one actually has the Extreme Shigesh that I just talked about. So I think if you were going to ask me, it's absolutely worth it to spend the 1100. I probably wouldn't go beyond that 3-star Dragon Ball banner. So that's out of the way. Normally you can expect from now on that you will see my older school reviews of things that are coming out in the news, the updates, changes to mechanics, stuff like that. You should expect that happening again. Another question I've been getting a lot very recently and over the full 2 months that I haven't been around, will my tier list be coming back? Now, as I mentioned, I haven't really PvP'd a lot in the last, I want to say month and a half or so, and rightly so, right? There was that big gap where I think the last season that I PvP'd, it was pretty obvious there was a pretty big pay-to-win gap where there was a big advantage, right? It wasn't fully pay-to-win. If you were better than the other person, you could probably beat them, but if it was reasonably close in skill level, the person who had paid more money or had the better team was going to win by a lot. It was starting to get annoying. I dealt with that. What I couldn't deal with at the time was it was very laggy. There was many cases where you would get disconnected, and it sounds like from everyone that's been talking, that's been the issue for at least the last couple seasons, and it was just hard to find matches in general, and it's gotten worse. Hopefully that's going to come back, but let's talk about what that means for the tier list. That means that I probably don't know how good these characters are compared to how I used to when I was at least PvPing a lot. I was never, a top 1,000 player in actual ability. I've gotten to top 1,000 before, like in the rankings, but the rankings and leaderboard is not the same as like an actual top 1,000 player, right? But I was good enough that I could tell you generally, these are the best characters, and here's why they're so good. I just didn't play enough to actually have the situational awareness to deal with certain things that certain people were doing. Whatever, right? We're at a point now where I haven't PvP'd enough where I would not feel confident giving you a tier list at the moment. So for at least the next 3 to 4 weeks, there's no way I could give you a tier list that's mine and say these are the best characters, here's why. So what I might do is maybe in the next tier list, I'll pull in some other YouTuber, some other high-level PvPer, and see if I can get their assistance. Maybe they can jump on camera with me, and we can do sort of a collaborative tier list. And then maybe even next month as well, we'll do a tier list with someone. And then once I feel like, okay, I'm PvPing enough, I've been rank 50 for the last 3 seasons, 4 seasons, whatever, I feel like I have a solid grip on the probably 20 new characters, 25 new characters that have come out since I stopped making content before. Okay, we're good. I feel like I'm giving you guys quality information that's not based on absolutely nothing at this point. So that's what you should expect for the tier list. So don't expect a tier list anytime in the next week or two. I'm gonna need to get a hold of a few different people, see who wants to actually do that collaboration, and then it takes a little time to get that rolling. So expect that in the future, just not in the very, very near future. And then over the next week or two, expect to see lots of just general update videos on ways the game has changed, information that you need, things like the best way to be using your sparking coins. I know a lot of people are just kind of throwing their sparking coins away. There's a better way to kind of save them up and make sure that you're utilizing them on characters that it really helps with. But I'll dive into that into a later video. And if there's any other videos you guys want to see or content on other games that you want me to cover, feel free to throw that down below. I'm very open to covering other types of content. And if you guys like this content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.